Alright, what we're going to talk about today is what we call the minutiae, the minor details, the little things. And when you watch a lot of the videos here on YouTube and things like that, they talk about the panels they're building, the bigger parts, the new suspensions and things like that. But what you don't really hear about is the small time-consuming items and the other decisions you make. You always have to decide whether you're going to be buying a lot of new parts or reusing some older ones. In this case of these are the brass connectors for the brake system of a 1972 Super Beetle. Now these were off of the rear brake lines. You can see I've severed the lines here. I've pulled the plugs out, and honestly, when I pulled all of this out, I cut the lines off of the frame, unbolted these things. These bolts came right out of the frame, straight up clean. And then in turn, when I took these and went back to those cut hoses, put a socket on them, everything spun right out, and I looked at them. The threads were good, the seats were good. They were just filthy, covered with tarnish, grease, grime, and everything from being in a vehicle in the ground and the dirt and on the road for 72 years. So I thought, why would I want to replace these things? This brass is absolutely perfect. Those fittings were in there since 1972. They came right out. Everything cleaned up great. Even the bolts that, while they're definitely showing a little age, they came right out of the frame. No fight, no stripping, no marring on the bolt heads. These things are absolutely candidates for being reused. And so that's my thought. And then I turned and said, you know, I haven't bought the clips for the brakes, but I bet these will clean up nice. I'm going to do a lot of undercoating on everything, so this will all just get recovered. I can just turn around and clean these as well. And it's a little labor, it's a little time, it's not a whole lot of money that I'm talking about, but when you start talking about all these little brass pieces, you got things like brake pedals, clutch pedals, gas pedals, backing plates for everything. All of that stuff adds up. You can either make a decision to keep those older pieces, they're still good, they don't look pristine, but you can return them to some form of glory and keep that history with that car, and in the process probably keep better parts, because they're most likely much thicker, better pieces than the remanufactured parts you get today. Now, things like wheel cylinders, I mean, I could go through the whole process of dealing with those, but once you get into those brake caliper pieces and all that, I'd rather go ahead and buy new and not deal with those, knowing that that's a significant wear part. This is not a wear part. This is a keep it forever part, and that's what I intend to do. Got the one for the front caliper and all that, so I've already done the cleaning on this. It was a combination of using Purple Power concentrate, scrubbing to get the grease off, and then using a variety of tools to work through the tarnish and everything. Part of that was scrubbing with some Scotch-Brite, and when that wasn't doing everything, I found this wonderful tool at Harbor Freight that's got all these that you can use all these little Dremel-sized bits on, and I used that with brass and cleaned this right up. Even so much the pieces that I could put in these little holes and do the cleaning in there as well, and in turn just get all this stuff back ready to use again. And so for this, I'll use a combination of the same thing. I've been using this bigger brush on some pieces. It's fiber, doesn't remove much paint unless it's bad paint, doesn't nip the metal, but cleans all the rust and gunk out of it. And in combination with these brass pieces on these, and everything's turning out well, and I'll be showing you as we go. I don't plan on leaving a camera running while I'm doing this stuff. Every one of these things is ungodly noisy and tedious, and everybody knows how to take something and grind on this, but it's seeing that that little bit of work can provide something useful at the end is what is part of this. Like I said, not many people actually get into that. They talk about that. If you watch the Golden Nugget series with Robbie Layton Nation, you'll have seen where he was actually talking about every single bolt and every single bolt hole on that car that they were getting put back together for red. They were running taps and dies over to make sure that if they were keeping the original, that the threads were clean and ready and could be reused again. And that's a lot of what we're talking about here. These threads are absolutely clean. In fact, I used one of these brass brushes to kind of clean around and do it. But when it comes time to do the body where they go in, I'll have to find the right size tap, run it in nice and slow, clean, make sure it's all nice and ready. And then I plan on being the king of anti-seize when all of this crap goes together. But it gives you kind of an idea that where the time factor comes in. You'll spend an awful lot of time cleaning these little things to keep them. But it's also about the preservation of those little pieces of the vehicle that have been there for 50 years and can be there for another 30 if I fix this thing right. So I'll be checking in on all the little pieces that I do and the nuances and all the little bits and what they look like and what you deal with when you discover things in this kind of work. And if you like it, enjoy it. If you don't, well, you know, I said I was the wrong way garage, so that's the way it is.